kind of my journey in wellness was kind of a right place, right time, meeting the right people, and really understanding the opportunity of what I was passionate about. And from there, it was like, this is what I was meant to do. This is what I was meant. This is what I was born for. I love sharing now all of the amazing things that I've learned through my life and then now implemented into NBPure and all of the amazing products and formulations that we now have. And so that's kind of like a little bit of like a short story to a long story.
Sure.
And yeah, so here we are now, 20 end of
25 years later, right?
uh,
28 years later, it's quite a
yeah,
journey. I feel like NBPure's been on this like longer road roller coaster, but I agree with you. As a dietitian myself, there's this mentality and we just don't give the credit to a lot of mandatory essential things to living, of which nutrition very much belongs. And it's difficult. Like there's no chance that, we can sit here and say that this is supposed to be an easy game. I
yeah,
think that, we are just kind of led down a road. Everyone's on a different journey. And what nutrition brings to you, what you're taught about nutrition, maybe it's from your parents or from a class or from a book. There's so many routes you can go that it just gets really clouded. And
yeah.
so the idea that we can get back to natural, the idea that we can get back to these solutions that are just like cohesive with the human body, it feels really good. And at least as long as I've worked here at NBPure, it's been a really remarkable thing to see us lean into what makes complete sense, like really avoiding anything else. So
And to your point, like that's what we try to do here is simplify the confusion.
right,
Even in our formulations and the ingredients, going back to natural, better, pure, simple formulations that are very effective, trying to take kind of the mystery out of, because, hey, we all know, like, even for me, and I'm in the space, supplements are very confusing. You walk
correct.
down the supplement aisle and it's like, there's just, there's so many choices. It's like, how do I choose the best for whatever it is I'm trying to do for my health?
Correct. It makes my job interesting, right? I'm definitely, as a dietitian, it gives me a lot to think about and work on as far as that teaching goes. Because you're right. I mean, when people say like, oh, this vitamin's better than that vitamin, why? Like there's a lot of science and name convention behind it that a lot of people just, if they're not invested, they're not going to learn that, and so they need that helping hand.
Yeah.
So that being said, like it's great to know that that's exactly the kind of things we lean into here. But I'll pivot just a little bit here. It sounds like we got an idea of like Danna as far as where you come from and why you started kind of going down this nutritional route. But what would you say was like the jumping off point for NBPure? Like how would you say like what made you start? Like obviously it's gone through a couple different names in the past, right? If you want to comment on that. But I think that, is there anything in particular that was like, we need to share this with the masses? We need to get this out there for people to help.
Yeah, it's like with anything, there's an evolvement, even
Yeah,
to a company and to a brand. You evolve with the way that, obviously the growth of the company, but also the growth of the industry.
right.
Um, NB Pure has been and still is kind of grounded in this gut forward type of approach to health, like
Right.
really understanding how important gut health is. And it's funny because I use this as like, I mean, we were talking about gut health before gut health was actually a thing. Now,
Yeah.
fortunately, there's a lot more information now about the gut microbiome, how important it is, not just for like digestion, but gut brain access and a bunch of other chronic conditions that are affected by gut health. And this was again like not to date myself, but back in the late 90s when like the wellness industry was really kind of like tree huggers and granola crunchers
That
type
is
thing. I
correct.
mean, now we're talking about it's, I would say it's more mainstream than it is, very niche. But we've always held true to that. So NB Pure is again like an evolution, but we're still grounded in the fact, which is why, we have so many amazing products that are focused on gut health, gut cleansing, like our Mago 7, digestive enzymes, our fiber. Because if you really have to start anywhere, and maybe we can talk about like what advice would I give someone that is just starting
Yeah.
a wellness routine? It would be
Yeah.
pay attention to your gut, get your gut
Yeah.
health correct, because from there, like all things are possible.
Right. I cannot agree more. I mean, this idea that what even is gut health, right? And I think that when I talk to people about gut health and you really think about it, it's all the way from food entering, drinks entering your mouth to leaving your body as well. That is an entire process, and if that like length of your GI tract, as we call it, is not functioning at its, we'll just call it even beneficial capacity. It doesn't have to be at its premium, maybe, but if it's faltering or if it's really giving you issues, that really does mean that you're discomforted, you're stressed, you're not absorbing, this nutrition that also gives you the solution. So the inability to focus on gastrointestinal issues, we'll call it, really does cascade into these other health, like chronic health issues. Even you see like
Yeah.
the cardiac disease and the respiratory disease that can kind of plague people. And obviously, I don't even need to get started on like obesity and those kind of things too. When we don't pay attention to our digestive tract and keeping it regular and keeping it flowing, it's kind of like a river, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not good if the river dries up. It's also not good if the river's way too full.
If the river's dammed
So
up by something and it's not, yeah, it's not flowing, then
So yeah, to your point, like the advice here is like anybody who's looking to do more with their nutrition should have at least to some degree some focus or attention to what is going on with their GI, right? Like, are you a person who's constantly constipated? Are you a person who's constantly dealing with indigestion? Or maybe, gas, just that alone. Like something is going on there that's worth unpacking because
yeah.
it's just going to lead you down a cascaded road.
And even though it sounds complicated, again, at NBPure, like we try to simplify things in order
Yes.
to make it easy because, hey, look, we all get busy. We all, forget to incorporate certain supplements and things into, oh, I forgot to take my vitamins or I forgot to take. But if it's something simple and convenient that you can just, you add a scoop of fiber into your protein shake or, just mix it in water. So, in addition to being very clean formulations, there's also that simplicity and convenience that we try to incorporate to make it easy for people to make sure that they're including it in their day.
Yes, I cannot agree with that more. That like the other part that I think about with supplements as a dietitian myself is that for the most part, supplements are something to be taken somewhat regularly because you're trying to kind of add this layer to your nutrition, right? And so, yeah, we do build our products, our supplements in that fashion where it's like this kind of daily occurrence that should fit into a quote unquote wellness routine. And so one of the important things to that is compliance, right? Because the moment you stop, you've kind of given up. And whether that is, it's going to be obviously detrimental to your health because now you're not getting the benefit, or maybe it's a detrimental to the money that you've spent on something that you don't want to take anymore. So, getting results out of your supplements matters, but so does wanting to continue it every day. And so like someone mentioned in the Q&A already that they love like the Earthy Andy products. And I agree because like it's got this cool flavor profile that's kind of more tropical, right? And that's fun. That like brings people to the products. So it's fun to see us not only take like the formulary into a place of like this is what your body prefers, but we also take it to this like fun place where it's like this is easy to use every day.
Yeah.
Like our Mago 7, our
Right.
flagship, we're like, cool, go to sleep and we'll take care of the rest type of thing.
Yeah.
Because we tell you to take it at night, right? So I cannot agree more that when you look for supplements, so kind of getting back to the question at hand, when you look for those supplements that you want to get benefit from, make sure that it aligns with your day-to-day regimen. If you're not a good person with remembering to take capsules, if you're not a good person that's going to mix something into a something, then find another route. Like we have like spray vitamins, for example. Maybe that's just something that you always put in your pocket, that's an easy routine
Which
to
I
build
have
in.
the spray vitamin, the vitamin D and the zinc
Yeah,
in my kitchen. So when I am getting ready to leave, very easy, spray some vitamin D, spray some zinc, which we all know we're getting into like the flu season. So zinc,
right.
is important to incorporate. But
Super smart.
yeah, to your point, like convenience and consistency, until you build that habit, and that's a whole
Right.
nother, again, like we could
Yeah.
do so many webinars on like building good habits and being
Building
consistent.
good habits. Yeah, great idea. Well, and
Yeah.
let's pivot then here a little bit more. Just kind of looking at everything. What we've talked a little bit about like NBPure and kind of like where we've come from of just this like, because yeah, like back in the 90s even, I don't remember much of anything from a supplemental perspective. And even my schooling in like the 2000s, 2010s, really didn't hit home on kind of what we can do supplementally instead of like things like medicine, right? And what I think has really birthed out of all of that, because obviously food can be medicine, and I would always promote that too, and so do we at NBPure. But at the same time, wellness, like this kind of idea, this conception of wellness has kind of birthed from the industry, from just how nutrition is treated in general. So I guess I'll stop there and ask you, Danna, what would be like three go-to strategies for staying like healthy, energized, that sort of thing every day?
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, it comes down to consistency. Um, for for me, and I think for most people, like being physical, like some type of physical exercise. I just about 3 weeks ago made this promise to myself I was going to try to get the whole 10,000 steps a day. So that means, maybe just taking a quick walk after each meal,
Yeah.
maybe at night, and it doesn't have to be, I mean, it could be like a quick 10-minute walk. Get up from your
Yep.
desk, do a quick 10-minute walk. And I found that like once I actually started prioritizing walking, game changer.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, everyone thinks, oh, I
Yep.
don't get much out of walking. Walking
Yep.
is like maybe one of the most underrated pieces of exercise or parts of exercise for sure.
Completely agree.
I also take, of course, I take NBPure supplements every day. Some of the ones that I make sure to take every day is our daily multifiber for
Mhm.
sure. And that's
Right
again,
there in the name.
we do a whole webinar on fiber. It helps
Sure.
with satiety, blood glucose control, like so many amazing benefits of fiber. So I would say prioritize fiber, whether you're getting it through a supplement or getting it through your diet. Fiber is, again, like we're talking about underrated pieces of advice. Getting more fiber
Yes,
in your diet,
absolutely.
definitely one of the missing components. And then let's see, what would be my third? A physical exercise, fiber, and of course, prioritizing what it is you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
I start my day every day with like water and fresh squeezed lemon juice. And then from
Yeah.
there, some light stretching. So, it's little simple things that you can incorporate into your day, which I think like doesn't have to be this big thing. Like I have to go to the gym and although I
Yeah.
do weight training several times a
Sure,
week.
sure, sure. Sure.
What
No, this is great. So
about
for
you?
those taking notes, I'm hearing like movement, right? Like I'm hearing movement is really important and obviously makes sense. Two of the things you mentioned, like the walking after meals and stretching in the morning and drinking water, you're doing blood flow. And like that's just so important. You think about how nutrition happens, right? We eat a meal or a snack even, and then we just go and sit with it and the blood's not moving. And I don't know if you guys remember this from we don't teach nutrition like we maybe should, but like you break down food stuff and it gets to your bloodstream, and your bloodstream is where things can get to the rest of your body. So like this idea of movement after eating makes a lot of sense, even on a very minimal level. This is to a degree, it's like going for a walk, sure, like what you're talking about, but it could even be like standing at your desk and getting more vertical blood flow. You talk about the GI tract, you talk about where it is and the act of walking, you're literally activating and moving with your GI tract. So I really liked hearing that one just because you're
Oh yeah,
absolutely right. The simplicity of walking and needing it makes a lot of sense. Take that next phone call and a walk, people.
yeah,
But yeah, I
for
really like your
sure.
advice.
Uh, what about you?
Yeah, I think I go back and forth all the time. I think that seasonally these kind of things can change for me. I tend to be a person that like, as the seasons change, I can start to feel a little bit more like sick, like the allergy seasons and whatnot. So I also try to keep up with my supplement regimen in line with that, like preparatory for that. So when you were talking about like the vitamin D and the zinc and the like multivitamins that exist, especially like what we have, I definitely make sure to hone in on those as the temperatures change and the seasons change. So it's always nice to have that kind of routine because I also do the fiber. I use the Mago 7 when I need to. I love our multivitamin, the multi-guard here, so I take that every day. But it's the extra layers. So sometimes you don't need certain supplements all the time because you're getting it from the diet, you're getting it from like the sunlight with the vitamin D. But we're about to hit, winter timing. We're about to hit a little less sunlight. So I make sure to increase things that when it makes sense, you start to boost those things, right? So
Yeah.
that would be number one is kind of this ever evolving, like paying attention to what your body's telling you to do. Two, and I've started to lean into this so much more recently, and that's sleep. I feel like I
Yeah.
didn't pay
Good,
attention to
good one.
how I was
Good one.
sleeping.
Yeah.
Or
That's a good
it,
one.
it it's another one on that list of like the things that are mandatory to living, right? Like nutrition, sleep. I would argue like social interaction type of thing, Anyway, so sleep is become one of these new hot topics for me. I love reading about it, kind of learning new things about it, like light exposure and just like how to calm the brain before sleep and when to and not use things like melatonin. So I have started to incorporate new things actually at the end of my day, like stretching, or putting down the phone, or the things that will relax me before bed. Started to look into like why am I snoring type of things and trying to correct for that too. So always going to be really beneficial because I wake up that much more refreshed.
Mhm.
Big, big, big component to your health.
Prioritize sleep for sure. Yeah.
Big time. And then yeah, three, it is get outside. It is like it can be in any kind of form and facet. So I have a 4-year-old son. I love playing with him too. And so getting outside of the parks and just getting some exposure to fresh air, the sun, those kind of things, it does impact kind of the way that your body is. One of the things I try to do as best as I can is get that exposure outside when I wake up. So that's as simple as, drinking my coffee on my back patio or going for a walk or, on the weekends I like to golf. So I'll go golf in the morning or something like that. And so that does kind of activate and pair well with sleep as well. So I think, teaching your body now we sleep, we're rested, and now we're up, we're in front of the sun. It's kind of very almost, I don't
That's
know,
just
it's very
getting your
human.
circadian rhythm. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it's
Yeah.
very human.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful,
Great
wonderful.
advice, Tom. Love
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, and it evolves, right? Like I kind of mentioned that on my first part is the person that gets stuck in their ways can tend to run into those obstacles and those roadblocks. And so you kind of have to run into and you need to like know of solutions before they come to happen. So educating yourself, learning about supplements, learning about nutrition in general can really be that easy route to the better you.
I would say, from what I hear from a lot of people, gut health and sleep are like two topics that are two things that a lot of people struggle with.
Right.
Yeah. So
I would agree completely, and it does tie into that. This kind of like rounded in the middle nutrition idea, whether you're like, the simple fact of like eating right before bed can really impact a sleep cycle, or like the amount of sugar, for example, in some people's diets, it's definitely going to mess with this kind of like insulin kind of response in the system, and just when you have peaks of energy versus when you don't. And don't even get me started on like kind of caffeine and the caffeine abuse we see these days. So like it really does make sense to prioritize both of those things, I would say.
yeah.
But that being said, Dana, just with, we both kind of have this like pulse on the industry as far as like what we see supplements doing. So I think I'll kind of close things out a little bit here and open up to some of the questions.
Sure.
But what do you see next? Like whether it's for NBPure or not, like what trends are we seeing and like what do we need to be paying attention to when it comes to supplements?
Well, I mean, for NBPure, we're always looking for ways that can improve people's health. I
Yep.
think for us, and I think for the industry itself, there's going to be a lot around, again, digestion and gut health, gut microbiome. There's all kinds of scientific research that they're continuing to do in this area. And there's a lot of things that people can do, and us as a company can help people improve their health in that way. So, and then also kind of related to that, big topic right now is around GLP-1 and some
Yes.
of these medications like Ozempic and the benefits versus some of the disadvantages. and or consequences of, using these types of medication. I think the conversation around that's only going to grow, especially as more people are interested in the GLP-1 conversation. And also if they decide to do something like Ozempic or use some type of these semaglutide medications, then, there's solutions and things that people have to be considerate of. So obviously there's a lot more that's going to be evolving, but I think for NBPure, and because we are so digestive focused, like these are going to be two areas that definitely we're going to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. And you kind of hit it right on the head, is this like idea of weight management. And I think GLP-1 and what we're seeing in its growth and its use being so widespread is kind of fascinating. But like in that journey, right? Like when we talk about even that medication, it's people starting a journey and they're trying to better their health and they're trying to manage a part of their life that they've always wanted to, and they need that support. And so I'm hoping that whether there are people on this webinar right now that are taking it or not, like there is a journey to it. All right. And any journey starts in a certain place and then it continues to another place and continues and continues and continues. And so along that road, it does make a lot of sense to learn what are my tools, right? And so I see a lot happening in the industry. We're getting really good at honing in on science. That's why GLP-1 started being used not just as a diabetic medication, which is where it's always been, like since like I believe the 90s or so. And so we're looking at this possibility, right? And like what can we do, and then how do we help along that way? And so I have seen a lot of synergies as far as our supplemental products with a weight loss journey. And so that trending is going to continue. Like one of the biggest trends right now that we're seeing is fiber. And you mentioned how fiber is an important part of your day to day. So those should be, people should be taking that effort to include it in real foods, whether that's trying to get some leafy greens or eating raw vegetables with some hummus or something of the like, maybe just beans as a protein source. It's huge for fiber. But like having these kind of other solutions in the back pocket, like daily multi-fiber from us, that throw a scoop in. And so I think that, those solutions will continue to see the trending in that direction. That being said, I know that we're about at time. We have a couple of questions that have trickled in. So I'm going to do my best to answer that, but I wanted to first thank you, Danna, for joining us today. We're going to be
Oh,
doing
my
some more
pleasure.
webinars
Yeah,
soon, and
sure.
and I'm assuming at this point that you're going to join us in the future as well. But I'm sure everyone loved hearing from you about the
I'm
stories.
hoping I get to do more of these. This is
Awesome.
fun, and of course, like I hope we're an inspiration to people to want to do things to better their health, to thrive better in life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy. I love it, and thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah.
You guys are what make us be able to share these things.
And before I answer some of these questions here real quick, and Dan, if you'd like to stick around, maybe you can add some color context. But we will be following up after this webinar. All of you that have joined us and listened along, we will be following up in email form as far as how you can get your free sample of our daily multi-fiber. So just be on the lookout for that in your email. Double check spam. We don't want you to miss out on this really cool opportunity on a great product. We talked about fiber today and how it can impact your health in such a great way. So just look out for that email from us, and so we can grab your address to get that shipped out to. No need to share that with us here, just to keep your information safe. So starting with question number 1 here, it looks like someone has ordered our Para End or our Parasite Cleanse and has not started it. They wanted to know if we have any tips or tricks kind of to taking that one. My biggest advice to you is to stick with it. It is a kind of a 15-day long cleanse. So you do want to stick with that product. It does make sense to kind of have 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and then take it every single day. If there's anything that I think makes a lot of sense to do here is make sure you're well hydrated. That kind of water flush and moving through is kind of a part of it. The dehydrated you will kind of hinder its ability to help out the best. That being said, it's pretty straightforward. It shouldn't have you in any kind of place of urgency, so you shouldn't have to have too many other tricks other than that. Moving along, it looks like we have some questions from someone about their gut health and and their gallbladder. So I want to keep things as kind of close to the belt as possible. I'm not going to comment specifically on anyone's like medical conditions or anything, but they're asking essentially if they need a cleanse. And anyone who is missing something like a gallbladder, I think that it immediately impacts just like the way you need to do nutrition. There's tons of learning there that I would imagine that they maybe provided you. But that being said, cleanses can be something that can help a lot of people. So when we talk about cleanses, like what we have, I think our most popular product, our Mago 7, is a gentle water flush to the system. And so when it comes to things about issues about being like backed up, about maybe dealing with more bloat and more gas, that's when you can start to think about things like cleanses, but you want to do it in a way that's functional to you and gentle for you, because the last thing you need to do is take a cleanse and have it actually make problems worse. So once again, it's really for that more backed up issue, more like constipation, less on the looser side. And so if that is something that happens for you, cleanse could be a really awesome solution. If it is that other side where it's a little more loose in a GI place, fiber. We talked about fiber today, and that is something that you should look into maybe increasing. Okay.
Not to get sidetracked here.
Sure.
So maybe something like the glutamine plus peptide.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We did just launch our performance line and we do have peptides. They're specific amino acids. And when your gut is in a place that's, we'll call it not happy, glutamine, it's like thirsty for glutamine in its own right. And it can be this really healing protein. And it's as simple as adding it to a water or mashed potatoes, soup. I mean, you name it. It's so easy to use. So that's definitely a really good solution there too, Dana. Thanks for pointing it out. Next question is about melatonin. Does melatonin have long-term side effects? I've seen conflicting info. I mean, to be fair, I'm not a big melatonin fan. Your body can make its own melatonin, all right? And it comes from the amino acid tryptophan. So you can look into dietary changes to essentially support your body making its own melatonin. And that's what I typically recommend. If you take a look at our Power Down supplement, it is essentially that. How do we relax the mind and how do we give the resources so that you can more effectively create your own melatonin in that sleepy state of mind? I do think that there is some dependency on melatonin these days. You see these pretty high doses. So yeah, it can be really tough though. I don't want to comment completely just because those who need it need it. But also, if you've been taking it, you could be in a place of dependency. It could be a bit of an interesting road as far as how do we do something a little bit better. So definitely worth following up on and what other solutions could exist. All right, we got a couple more here. It looks like we had someone just comment that we love to talk about sleep and how important that is. I do truly recommend some of these non-melatonin sleep aids like our Power Down. Like I do think that taking things like ashwagandha, L-theanine, GABA, these are all things that your body kind of craves right before bed to kind of calm down that mind. Have you taken Power Down, Dana?
I
You like
have.
that
Yeah, I
one?
was just gonna comment, like I usually take, depending on what kind of day I have, either one or two, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour before I'm ready to go to bed. So when I go to bed, I'm able to go to sleep a lot quicker, not like
Yeah.
tossing and turning.
Yeah, I think L-theanine has become one of my favorite ingredients, and we do use it. So that is a really fun one coming from like green tea. I mean, it doesn't get really more natural than that, right? And then our last question here, I'll answer, and we'll let you all go. Will you say more about Mango 7, please? And sure, let me just kind of hit that one on the head. It is our product we're most well known for, Mago 7. And what that is an ozonated magnesium oxide. So magnesium oxide, that's like, think about that chemical compound, has been used for years as a laxative. It's not really a good laxative. It's also not a good magnesium supplement. It just is hard to break that bond between magnesium and oxygen that makes it magnesium oxide. But what it does do really well is it gets all the way to your lower gut, right? Because it doesn't get digested. And that draws water into your gut, like right at the bowel level even. So it being ozonated, magnesium oxide that's been ozonated means it has more oxygen attached to that compound, and it makes it a stronger water flushing system. And so when you compare it to something like a magnesium oxide, which you can absolutely find on the shelf at the store, it just isn't going to get near that level of water flush system that Mago 7 has been known for. And so effectively, you have this magnesium oxide that gets all the way to your bowel, draws water in, and then you typically eliminate most of it. You'll get about 4 to 6% of that magnesium elemental content that is good for nutrition. But what's really happening there is it's a bus, it's a vehicle, get all the way to the lower colon and draw water in very gently over the course of 6 to 8 hours, that typical sleep cycle. Really unique product. Most people take anywhere from that like 1 to 3 capsules at night. I don't know about you, Danna. I take 1 or 2. It really depends on the
Yeah,
issue.
3 is my magic number.
3
Yeah.
is your magic number. I've heard some people say
But I
that
do
even
know some
more is
people
their
are up
magic
to
number.
5, you know?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so like the size of the body can depend here. Your activity level, the issue at hand, as I like to call it, you can always titrate that, or if you don't get solution, you can always go a little bit more the next day. I do recommend still using it at night so that you're not kind of in a place of needing to run to any kind of bathroom. Not that it does that. It's really meant to be used that morning where it's most convenient to do your business. But that's Mag07. I hope I answered your questions on that one, but it's pretty easy to get in contact with me. So I'll finish it there. If you do have follow-up questions, even after we've ended this webinar, please feel free to reach out to us. Our team is very available. They get me involved at any kind of more specific questions that you might have about you and your health. But we're here along for your journey, whatever that is. It does require education. Remember, whatever you're trying to accomplish, and we're hoping that NBPure can be part of it. So once again, thank you, Danna. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and for the
Thank you
questions.
all.
And we'll have some more webinars. We're going to be looking at doing these maybe about monthly. So, keep in tune with what we're doing. Check in on social media at NBPure, obviously. And then look out for that email so you can get your free daily multi-fiber. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. See you next time.